Welcome to the TCU Innovates podcast.
For over 150 years, Texas Christian University has been at the forefront of innovation, and we're just getting started.
I'm TCU Chancellor Victor Bashini.
And I'm TCU President Daniel Pullin.
We are your hosts of TCU Innovates.
We highlight the latest stories of innovation and thought leadership across our community.
Dream big, be bold,
and lead on, Horned Frogs. Hey everybody, it's TCU President Daniel Pullin, and I'm excited to be joined today for another episode of TCU Innovates by our very own Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Dr. Kathy Cavins-Tull. Kathy, thank you for being here and welcome to TCU Innovates.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent, excellent. Well, in so many ways, you're the go-to leader that curates and stewards the student experience, which is something that TCU has been known for a long time now. And, in many respects, we put that up against any other student experience anywhere in the country. And it's a big part of why students seek to be educated right here at Texas Christian University. So first of all, I just want to say thank you for all that you do and your visionary leadership for continuing to listen and learn from our students and then deliver, what I think is one of the finest suite of student success services anywhere in the country.
Well, thank you for supporting that, because I feel like it happens because that's the culture of this campus and it's been built over many, many years. And so I'm happy to support that and try to do our best at serving students.
Well, you do a great way, and I know you have an outstanding team as well, and just love working with everybody. On this podcast, we typically start by asking each of our guests about their TCU story. It's a way for listeners to get to know you a little bit and understand what's your motivation for being part of the Frog family.
Okay, I totally don't want to bore you about my own experience, but I came here, I'm in my 14th year at TCU, and I came here, it's kind of a story, but I did my PhD at Illinois State, which is where Chancellor Boschini was the president before he was the chancellor here. And so I knew him. I knew a little bit about TCU through him. And I was the vice president and dean of students at Illinois Wesleyan, a private school in the middle of Illinois, and loved my work with students. And being in a smaller school, you get to wear a lot of hats and do direct service to students. And so I knew that was a value of mine, because there are a lot of vice chancellors, vice presidents in the field of student affairs that are really policy-driven or administratively focused. And so when this job became available, Chancellor Boschini had suggested that I apply for it. And I was having such a great experience where I was. I have to say I've loved every single job I've ever had, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready to leave. But one of the things about TCU that was so magnetic for me is that it had just what students love, that smaller school feel, but the resources of a big school. And it allowed me to be the kind of vice chancellor that I wanted to be, where I could see students, work with students, be in the classroom some, and do the work of student affairs. And for me, it's been a perfect combination here.
Well, excellent. Well, I know you've had leadership roles in many efforts and initiatives and invention and reinvention in the way we serve and care for our students. One of the things that you've done recently, and it was actually part of our Sesquicentennial celebration, 150 years of TCU excellence. We thought it would be a perfect moment to mark time and certainly honor and learn from our past, celebrate our present, but in many ways look toward the future. And TCU's always been a values-driven university, and that's been a big part of what got us to this point. And so it needed to be a really big part of our ability to look ahead and think about what is it going to take from a values perspective to put TCU in a position to not only be sustainable, but to continue to thrive and flourish for the next 150 years. And so we asked you to lead a campus-wide effort to examine, explore, and reaffirm our values-driven approach. Can you talk to us about that project, the genesis of it, the process, the outcome, and then maybe even what we can expect from a values-based perspective moving forward?
Sure. So every 10 years, as we reaffirm our SACS accreditations, SACCOC accreditation, we have a process by which we review our mission statement. And there was a huge committee of faculty, staff, students, alumni, board members that looked at our mission statement and whether or not that would serve us well in our future. And so we talked about it as a cabinet and suggested that maybe we do a reaffirmation or take a look at what our campus thinks our values are. It was quite a big project, but with a lot of input. And so just like our strategic plan now, we went out to the community. We did some man on the street kind of interviews. We did electronic survey of people who were both on campus, but also like parents, alumni could participate in that. And we first brainstormed all the things that people think that we are. And then through that process, we narrowed them down. And then we had these listening sessions where people just got together and started talking about our values and what it really meant to them in groups. And we had writers sitting around the outside of it. And so it started really making sense. And we got down to 4 values. It came to be that we're not ranking them, but we say integrity is really the foundation of everything we do here in our classrooms, in our research, and everything that we do. Integrity has to be there because if it weren't, it can't really be a university, right? And a place for learning. The second thing is people always talk about the connected community here. So that sense of community is super important to our campus. And we work really hard to build that community with our students and our faculty and our staff and even the Fort Worth community. So community, the idea of engagement, that knowing that in order to get the most out of the experience here, that really heavy engagement in our learning inside and outside the classroom was really important. It's something that really reflected the kind of education that TCU provides. And that fourth thing is kind of that humble part of being a horned frog is we're always striving for excellence, that we never sit and rest on our laurels, that we're always looking for the next thing that makes us excellent. And so that sort of constant striving to make us better. And I think our strategic plan is really, really supporting that and stretching us at this point. So that's great.
Yeah, no, I think it's a wonderful initiative, and you're right. Consolidating down to 4 overarching values and principles. It's I agree with you. I think they're correct. They're very well informed. They were developed with a very inclusive process that really speaks to the entirety of the community. They're memorable, and they can drive decision making. We can make decisions on behalf of our students in their best interest by and through our values. So we got to the 4 values. Now, how do we share that across the community? How do we make that stick? How do we positively adjust our culture such that we're living those values every day?
I think that's a great challenge for us, is to talk about those, and just like our mission, use that in everything that we do, and introducing people to our community and onboarding new employees and helping students understand what those 4 values mean to us in everything that we do. We have this new program that we're doing where we have these little lapel pins that signify each of the values. There are 4 different pins. And when we see people doing great work, we see people living out integrity or community and bringing people in this sense of belonging, that we should recognize that. So we're trying right now to find people who are really living into our values and give them a pin to say that we recognize their work and their commitment to the things that are important to TCU. So there's that. And I think, honestly, you hear the values every time that you speak, and every time we give an address to the campus community. But anytime that you're out there, I hear the values coming from you as really our chief communicator for our campus.
Well, I'm glad that's resonating. I try to be as consistent as possible, and and hopefully, model those values as much as any of our students, as any of our faculty members, or any of our over now 100,000 plus living alumni. And again, it's just so foundational to who we are, how we've gotten to this point, and where we're going. And boy, aren't we going places? I was reading some of the latest stats and rankings that are kind of swirling around Texas Christian University. And just the other day, our friends at the Princeton Review released their latest rankings for the year ahead. And, sometimes these rankings can fluctuate a little bit from year to year, but over in recent memory, we've had a lot of consistency in many areas on campus. And so many of those areas actually fall squarely under the leadership of student affairs, you and your team. And so I kind of wanted to maybe brag a little bit on you and everybody that is working under your leadership on these latest rankings. Some of the things that I saw were a top 25 in the country for the best career services, top 10 in the country for the quality of our living dorms, residence halls, number 11 for health services, which is always an important component of keeping our students up and at them and able to engage in learning at the highest level. Quality of life, another top 10 stat. Counseling services, which couldn't be more important today than at ever before, number 11. We're also known for our Greek life, top 15. And then folks that I get to work with quite a bit, the student government, the most active student government, top 10 in the way we value the student voice. So you can talk to us about any of those specifically or just in general. What is it that allows TCU to perform in such a great way by and on behalf of our students?
Well, I think it starts at the top of our organization with Chancellor Boschini and you, President Pullin, in setting the tone for how we interact with students. And so I think the philosophy that all of us from faculty and staff here truly believe is that we are partners with our students in helping them meet their educational goals. And when you enter a relationship feeling like a partner with your students, then I think the student goes a long way. And it's not my experience or your experience, it's our students' experience that we're interested in. And so I have, in the Division of Student Affairs, we have 267 people who help bring our mission to life every day and our values. And I think that excellence in all we do begins with our philosophy and how we interact with our students. We want what's best for them. We want them to meet their educational goals. We have philosophies in our philosophy in our residence hall, and we call it the KCE model. So I think that when I went to school, a lot of times the RAs were a little like a police officer, sometimes,
Sure.
And no student wants to be like that for another student. No student leader wants to lead like that. And so we use this KCE model, and it is knowing our students, connecting them with resources, connecting them with other people, connecting them with our traditions and friends, that knowing them, connecting them to things that will help them be successful, and then empowering them to make a difference. And I think like student government, you work with student government, I work with student government, and there's nothing that our student government has ever done that was outrageous. They are trying to do the best they can to make it a better place for students. And so how would we be against that, right? We work with them to help them meet their goals. And I think that in our work, there's so much joy when you get to be in that kind of a role with students and see them come here and find their confidence and find their passion and find their vocation and help them make the most of that. And I feel like every one of our units in the Division of Student Affairs and outside of the division, and all of our faculty and staff, when they go into that kind of relationship with a student, with the philosophy that is about the student, then everything should succeed. And students should be happy, but we should be happy too. We get to participate or walk alongside these students as they're becoming great, and I love that.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And, for so many of us who have built a career in higher education, that really is the kind of the alpha and omega of, why we chose this field and to build our careers in the context of life, is to get to work with these outstanding learners and, share their ideas and their aspirations and be a part of being on the critical path from where they are today and what their dreams are tomorrow, and seeing those become more than dreams, seeing those become real. And, I just think in so many respects and so beautifully for our outstanding students. This podcast is called TCU Innovates. And in many ways, TCU is an institution of innovation. We've been innovating since the founding of the university, when Addison and Randolph Clark, actually the very first decision they made when founding TCU was to decide to teach in a co-ed environment where men and women could learn together. And that was one of the very first decisions and really one of the first institutions west of the Mississippi to teach in a co-ed environment. So we've been innovating every day. And we talked about the resonance of the student voice and, their engagement and involvement in creating student life. Are there any innovations from the students or suggestions or ideas that have bubbled up, not top down from a vice chancellor here or a president there or this faculty member or what have you, but ideas that the students have brought to the table that have really made a difference and improved the environment here at Texas Christian University?
Well, there are a lot of things that students bring to us, and we sort of help to make it work. So this TCU Connects, do you know what that is?
I've heard a little bit about it, but tell everybody.
It actually came from a group of business students in the Neely Leadership Program. It was like their legacy project. And they said, we want to find ways to connect students who for all the efforts that we put out there, maybe don't feel connected, but they're willing to reach out. So if you're somebody who's like, I want to go to this concert tonight and I don't know anybody who's going, you put it out there in this social media format, and then other students will say, hey, I'm going, come with me. Or I want to go to the football game, but I don't know who's going, and put it out there. And then on Saturday, student puts something out there and they say, let's meet at gate 10 or whatever. And then there's a dozen students who want to go to the game together. And it's just a simple way to connect, but it's powerful. And it was created by students. We regularly have students who come and say, I want to run a bakery. And so I want to learn how to do that. And so we take them under our wing in Sodexo, and we give them a space in our coffee shop and say, come and do your thing in our kitchen, and you can run it from start to finish, your menu, you order the stuff, we'll help you do it, we'll give you space to do it, we'll give you space in our counters to display your stuff. And people have done good work. There are things that students bring to us all the time that they're excited about. Actually, I have a meeting today or tomorrow with some students who've created a way of combining all their syllabi into a online scheduling thing and having all of their work put into this online format that can help them stay on track with their academics, and that's good for all of us, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. So, student innovation in action and, and a lot of what allows that to be real is that strong connected community that you discussed. We're in the process of strategic planning. You mentioned that. One of the emerging 4 pillars of that forthcoming plan is going to be around student-centered growth. Mm-hmm. So growing prudently, but in a way that's right for our students, such that the growth actually enhances the student experience, that the growth enhances our ability to drive better student outcomes and enhances the overall value and the return on investment in a TCU degree. Can you talk to us about student-centered growth, what that means, and how, as we as an institution grow prudently and thoughtfully, we're able to deliver even more value for our students than ever before?
I think so. We have 4 pillars, and this is the first pillar, and we've talked a lot about how this student-centered growth works. And if you talk to anybody in our community, I think students, parents, faculty, staff, they like that sense of a small community, a community where people know each other, a community where people support each other, but with big resources. So we want to keep that small community feel and expand resources for our students. And so the other pillars that follow that, so an engagement more in the research area of academics. How do students benefit from that? And that, so it's student-centered. So how will students' academic experience be enhanced by their more access to research and creative activities and some of those practical experiences that we want all students to have? And then how is it that supporting that third pillar is, how do we make the best sort of athletic presence, because we've had such great national attention for that, and it helps us. I mean, we couldn't buy the kind of attention that being on the national stage from athletics gives us, but that, again, that small school experience, but with big resources. And a lot of times students are attracted to us because of the big resources, but they want to feel like they have individual attention. So how can our focus on athletics then make that student experience even better at TCU? And then that fourth pillar is on community engagement. And I mean, as a university in the 12th largest city in the country and the fastest growing metroplex, we have the benefit of being in a place where students can get practical experiences kind of anywhere they look, and which helps them when they get out there and want to go to work or go to graduate school, that having those practical experiences they're super important. And our students tell us that, most of our students will do at least one practical experience, and many will do two. And last year, 68% of our students said that practical experience affected my ability to get a job coming out of school, or it advanced my application to graduate school or professional school. And so how do we understand our responsibility to our community and value the community aspect in terms of giving students even a better educational experience? And I say, one of the biggest benefits to TCU is our location. I mean, you call it cool town, and students love a cool town too.
Yeah, no doubt.
And a cool town that has a ton of opportunities for students to practice what it is that they think that they have passion for, or get student teaching or clinical work or whatever. That this should be part of the learning lab. The Metroplex should be part of that learning lab for our students.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great set of pillars, and I love how the student is a common thread through each of them. It's not just like, we have this one student initiative over here and these other things that we care about for other types of constituents. It really is all about the student.
It is.
And they're very clear and present throughout. One of the great things that I've come to discover at TCU is that it's the kind of institution that if you can dream it, you can do it. And this podcast in so many ways is about dreaming big. So I think my final question for you is, put your dreaming hat on, right? What's your big dream for TCU or student affairs at TCU? What do you hope becomes true in the time ahead?
Wow. Well, there's the strategic plan is very exciting, and there's a lot there that will take us some time, I think, to get to where we want. But I think a vibrant campus. I want students to love it here. I always say that when a student comes here, I want to capture their heart. It's not just getting a degree and moving on from here. It's a place that students will always feel connected to and an affinity for. And so I want our campus to be second to none in feeling like this is a place of belonging now and for the rest of their lives. This is a huge decision a student makes to choose TCU, and we love it that they choose TCU. And when we choose them and they choose us, it is a commitment that we make over their lifetime. And so I want students to feel engaged and committed to this community and take advantage of all the things that we have to offer, challenge us to bring more when we don't have enough for them, and to know that for the rest of their life, we want them to be active with us and supporting the students that come behind them. And so I love having the number one happiest students. Now, the Princeton Review says that we're number 6 this year. But I think that there's room for us there. Again, I love it that students are happy. I love it when they're challenged. I love it when those light bulbs go off and they find what they're really great at and then go and do that and feel like TCU made a difference for them and they want to help the next people who come by.
Yeah. Well, I just love that. I love that vision and philosophy and, the opportunity we have to be a partner in their success. And then as they have an opportunity to be a partner in the institution's success, not just in 4 years or 2 years at a grad level or what have you, but for the next 40 and 50 and 60 years of their lives, it really allows us to create a stronger, more enduring institution because of dreamers like you. So thank you for being such a big part of that reality. Thank you for being bold and leading on, and thank you for joining us today on TCU Innovates. It's been just a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, thanks. This is fun.
Here you hear it first, right? A student-centered university, a values-driven university that's looking to innovate, that's dreaming ahead, that's doing everything in the best right way, starting and ending with the interest of the students. So with that, we'll wrap up, and as we always do, go Frogs!
Go Frogs!
The TCU Innovates podcast is recorded at the KTCU studio in the Bob Schieffer College of Communications at Texas Christian University. Thank you to the KTCU team for supporting our show. Go Frogs!